Yo!
That's loud as fuck. Okay.
Hey, wow, okay.
Maybe my headphones are just...
Yeah, I think I was experiencing the same thing.
Shit is bumping.
How's that?
Hi!
I could hear James swallowing, and it was...
That's disgusting.
And I took off the headphones, and I thought I was deaf. Because the world was so quiet.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
It's Talking Simulator. We're back.
It is.
It's whack.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about 2 games tonight. One of my all-time favorite games, ever since I was just a little Cameron, which is Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. I was tiny. I was very small. My parents were very worried about me when I was a child because they thought I was going to be like 3 feet tall and bald. I didn't get hair until relatively late in life.
Fair. I mean, you're now 7'6".
Yeah, fucking killing for fun. And Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, if you're not familiar with it, is a... I guess it is a pseudo-sequel to Civilization 2. It is. Yeah, it was built on the Civilization 2 engine. In much the same way that a... God, I don't know.
Let's do this game.
Yeah, it's a heavy overhaul. Yeah, so the engine took a lot of upgrades, including like 3D rolling terrain that you could actually raise and lower. Like you could... The way it modeled... Because it modeled weather, right, in that it had to keep track of where rainfall happened, so it knew what terrain was better farming terrain. Oh. And the way it did that was monitored where mountain ranges were. So you could raise a mountain range, and on the west side of it, you would get rain.
What?
Like you would get green terrain, and on the east side, you would get arid.
Nuts.
So one trick was you could take your terraforming units and raise a mountain range to the west of your rivals' cities.
And just like desert it?
Yeah, you just desertify like their entire country, and the AI didn't recognize it as an attack.
That's messed up.
Yeah, no, it was dank.
It's like, where's this mountain coming from? Well, we're all out of food, so our economy caved in.
Yep, everyone's starved. So
womp womp.
Let's get it started, shall we? Like,
Crank
this is a
this
game
shit
that the gameplay has not aged terribly well, but the world that they've built is so good.
Which is kind of why you want to talk about it and contrast it. We will... What? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's some good CG. Nice.
Let's just watch all these.
The Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden. He drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubim, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. The Conclave Bible, data links.
I thought it was going to go into the Terminator theme.
Yeah, me too. With the fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always at that exact footage.
Yeah. It's probably like stock footage available of... Most of this is from Desert Storm, I think.
It's like... yes, here we see the terrible state of the whole world, which is to say the states and countries the states is busy bombing.
Yep.
But then the shuttle went, and all these people got fucked.
Yeah, they all starved to death.
Except this
I think
guy.
that's from Baraka, isn't it?
Maybe. I've not seen that movie. I've heard it's very good. Flawless.
Yep. Such good CG.
I mean, like, the modeling's not even that bad.
Yeah.
They don't have, textures. There's like, later.
Earth, 2060. A small group of colonists leaves the ravages of Earth for a distant planet orbiting Alpha Centauri's primary star. Their ship, the United Nations starship Unity, carries them on their journey to a new world and a new hope for humankind. Along the way, a reactor malfunction damages the Unity, precipitating a crisis among the ship's 7 most powerful leaders. As they enter the Alpha Centauri system, the crew splits into 7 distinct factions, divided not by nationality, but by ideology and their vision for the new world. After the ship breaks apart, the 7 leaders guide their chosen crew down to the surface of planet. seeking their destiny beneath an alien sky.
Huh.
Yeah, okay, so...
Two of those totally blew up, didn't they?
Yeah, there were... Okay, so basically what happens is the captain is killed, and you are left with... Let's just go with a small planet for this stream. And normally I play up on, like, Thinker. I think I've beaten it on Transcend before.
But you want to
But, you know, for the sake of wanting to talk about and see more of the content,
yeah,
I think we'll just play it on Talent.
sounds good.
Play with standard rules, and these are the factions. So what happened was that it was supposed to be like a UN mission, right? And then, you know, as they said, there was a crisis, and the nations, right, the analogs to Civ 2's civilizations here are led by crew members, right? So Lady Deirdre Skye was the exobiologist. She was like the I think she was the science chief. Chairman Shenji Yang, he was the chief of security. Zakharov was chief engineer. I think Morgan was like a really high-profile passenger who bought his way on board and it shouldn't have been on board.
Oh, I see.
Corazon Santiago was a security officer who wound up, I think, in the backstory, basically leading an insurrection and scuttling the mission. Miriam Godwinson was the chief psychologist, and Lal was the first officer. So,
it's kind of interesting, like, as a premise. It's also, I appreciate that the opening cinematic, like, delivers all that information.
Yang was psychologist? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It, like, pretty efficiently.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of these games that they just, like, go on and on and on and don't say anything, and I'm just like, shut up and let me play.
Yeah.
It's just like, the planet was fucked, everybody ran, and then they had a disagreement, so there's factions now. I'm on board. I understand this.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. Well.
Or,
so who are you gonna place?
I remember Lal was first officer. Yang was the psychologist. Yang was... Anyway, they all had roles on the ship. And they all led, because everyone was in cryogenics. They all split up and took, like, one of the modules, right? And where the game starts is that these people aren't necessarily... aren't hostile to each other. They've all just survived this explosion.
Yeah.
Right? And they're trying to survive on the planet.
Yeah. Sorry, we will be talking about a lot of spoilers.
Yeah.
Because this is a discussion show, so.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
If this is your first time on Talking Simulator, we spoil everything.
Yeah. It's taken as read that we will spoil everything, so.
So, like, my favorite factions were the Stepdaughters and the Peacekeepers.
So the hippies and the...
It's really interesting, though, because the game does an excellent job of subverting all of these tropes.
Really?
The Peacekeepers are, they're kind of like the Mario, right? In that they, you're going to want to hear a lot of these commentaries, though.
Okay, well, once we get up to it.
And they're pretty much as you see. But Lady Skye is actually like a very hard-nosed scientist. Like they are not hippy-dippy at all.
They're just like, well, it's like
they are
to repeat
actually
the tragedy of Earth, and if we have to like nuke spam you, maybe we will.
Well, they don't actually nuke, but they can use nukes, but what they do really well is bioengineering. And they are secretly one of the most powerful military factions.
Guys, stepdaughters.
Actually, in the official backstory, like the novelization, the Spartans come after the Stepdaughters very early on, and the Stepdaughters stomp them, like, hard. Like, they're gone.
Yeesh.
Because the Stepdaughters learn how to use Planet before anyone else does.
It's just called Planet?
Yeah, it's just called Planet right now.
Nice.
But I think I want to go with the Peacekeepers, just because they're kind of... They value human happiness above everything else. Which is subtly different from what the Believers do, because the Believers are all about human well-being. Like, they care about...
We'll give you
they
everything
care about
you
the
need
spirit.
to survive.
The Peacekeepers care about the body, right, and the mind.
Interesting.
But
It's like you don't need food to be spiritually.
well, they actually do though.
Solvent.
Like in late game, Sister Godwinson is one of the only people putting forward like honest, skeptical dissent towards what the end game is, and she's not wrong, which is really important because it would have been easy to make her like a caricature of a religious character, but she is very honest in her belief, right?
That's always a relief.
Yeah.
Because it's all too often in, especially sci-fi and stuff, you have like the religious character who's just like, a crazy Jesus freak.
Yeah.
They're basically like, it's a trope. It's just like, watch out for the religious character because they're crazy and to sell it. And that's the only type there is.
Unfortunately, the AI plays them very aggressively. But the university is, they're kind
Spider
of
Jerusalem?
Yeah, they're a bit unethical, really. Like they're, you know what? Let's just get into the game, and you will get all of this.
All right.
From how they talk about each other.
So painfully in Earth.
Oh shit! I clicked right through it.
Oh!
Old habits. Okay.
UN headquarters. Oh, what are we gonna call this? More pork.
Let's just leave it as is. Right. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I need to remember how to even
do anything.
Yeah. Because clicking on things and dragging the map.
Bot recovered.
Okay, that moves too.
Okay.
Production complete.
Okay, hold on. I'm turning off
Please
the.
don't go.
No.
The drones need you. They
Menu.
look to you.
Gamay.
Game. Preferences. Tutorial messages.
Auto prune obsolete units.
Uh,
I still function.
Okay, there we go. Oh, we're just at the extreme north of the map.
Neat.
So we're going to fortify here.
Activate self-destruct. Action?
Center on active unit. No, that's the base. Is it just hold? Is it just H? Sure. Cancel orders. You go there. You go there. You go here. Okay, this is something that I really enjoyed about this game. And you won't appreciate how well this works until we look at Beyond Earth.
Okay.
This is your tech tree.
Explore, discover, build, conquer.
These are the technologies you can research. These are not the actual technologies. These are the trees that you can fund research in.
Interesting. That sounds more like... What's the word I'm looking for? Just like... Rather than, like the science tree or the like agriculture tree or something. It's just like, here's an idea we have that you could fund. And that will...
And this will make... How good an idea this is does not become apparent until you see the alternative to it in Beyond Earth.
Oh, yeah? Which is what? Well, I guess we'll get to it.
You tell me when we start researching technologies and tell me
dear.
why it is better to look at it like this than it is to try and pick a specific technology to research in this game.
Interesting. Well, because you're sort of choosing your values.
Yeah.
Early on. It's like, how do you want to, do you want to be a conqueror? Do you want to be, an explorer? Interesting.
Okay. I'm trying to remember the size. Okay. Oh, yeah, we can just click on it. Okay, so you've got your base, and it has a number of citizens, which is right here, and they can work tiles.
Just work the tiles.
Yeah, so there are resources on the tiles, and then you can make a queue. So we're gonna build recycling tanks. Because that gives us bonus resources.
Sounds good.
And
unsubscribe
then
servo facts.
So this is the shape. This is all the resources our city can gather. That's as far as it goes on the map. That's as far as the city can send people. So we want to tile our cities to maximize the number of tiles.
So they overlap, or
so that they don't overlap.
oh, so they edge and don't
Yeah.
overlap. Okay, there we go. I need nutrients.
So we would like probably here. No, sorry.
Production complete.
It's interesting the design. Does your home base
Planet's
change?
atmosphere, with a ghastly
does,
death to
but-
humans and most animals, is paradise for earth plants. The high nitrate content of the soil and the rich yellow sunlight bring an abundant harvest wherever adjustments can be made for the unusual soil conditions.
Seems all right.
Lady Deidre Sky, The Comparative Biology of Planet.
So usually in civilization games, this technology is usually something like irrigation or agriculture. If you had a tech tree with technologies labeled Centauri ecology, social psychology, magnetism, and all these other sci-fi names, how would you know where to go?
That would be tricky.
But by abstracting that behind the blind research, you can just say, I want technologies that will, in this case, this is a build technology. Or not a build technology, it's the agriculture one, the infrastructure one. And so, like, we want to improve our bases, we fund this kind of research. So, one, the voice acting in this game is excellent. Two, when you research technology, you get this screen that shows you, what you can do. You've learned another secret project called the Weather Paradigm. You've learned how to build units. It tells you some other things that it does, and it tells you what other technologies you can research as a result of it. And then it tells you, like, here is a little essay about what the technology meant to the people, right? Finding adequate sources of nutrients, energy, and minerals is the most important immediate problem facing the colonists after planetfall. An understanding of the basics of Centauri ecology provides the new arrivals with the tools they need to begin shaping the world around them. How plants grow, what geological structures exist, and how natural energy sources may be exploited on planet.
Hey, we got food now!
Yeah, so now we know certain things. And it also has a third leg, which is one of the leaders or a character in the game telling you about what the technology how it fits into their societies and what it meant to them. And what I really like is that all of these are taken from books or writings that occur someplace,
This is all,
which gives you a
it's all
sense of the
fiction,
future.
right?
Yeah. But it tells you that these people all survived to write about their experiences.
Oh, of course. Like, this is like hindsight.
Yeah.
Because, like, this person right now is in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
But we're getting a quote from a book that will presumably be written in the future.
Yeah.
It is interesting that it gives you, like, that context for, for a line item on a tech tree in a resource management game.
Yeah, but, I mean, they didn't need this, but I think it does a tremendous job of making sure that this is a very living thing
I get
for the
the
game.
impression that this game invests you a lot more in the actual well-being of, these people that you're supposedly, playing commander to. As opposed to just like, I want to occupy all the squares and have all the numbers go up to 100.
You really, really, really get a strong sense of who you are in this game. Like, what kind of people you lead.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So we've learned how to build a terraforming unit.
Looks like a drill. Or like that's a ditch witch.
Yeah. So, explore. Sorry, that was an explore technology.
Colonization and population growth. So it's like, how do we get more people? It's like, well, feed them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Discover, advance, and pure knowledge. It's like, what kind of shit can we figure out? Build, make a house.
Yeah.
Make a bigger house. Okay, now make a canal. And conquer guns.
And like, all of the faction leaders go through character arcs.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And that's only shown in these little excerpts.
Oh, so you know what this sounds like is, it seems a lot more telly than Dark Souls, but it's the same kind of.
Yeah, like the items.
Because it doesn't arrest you in the middle of the game to just be like, here is some exposition. It's just like they put it into all the stuff you're doing, and if you take the time to read it, then it's like, oh, I see what these people are like.
Yeah.
Well.
Can we actually build anything here?
Invalid base site.
Oh yeah, you can't build it on Xenofungus. Okay, so we're going to actually just break our first rule and put a city here instead of on an optimized square.
Oh, so suboptimal.
Yeah, but whatever. We're playing on a fairly easy mode, so it won't hurt us.
Fair. It's been 7 years already?
From...
Well, the mission year 2107. Wait, when did you actually get here?
2100.
Ah, yeah, so... Hey, we built a thing.
Yep.
What is it?
It is a new place to live.
Hooray! I'm gonna go live in the can.
Mm-hmm.
I love cans.
We actually don't know what the Xenofungus is yet. We just know that we can't build on it.
It's like, I don't know what this shit is. So you're saying about your base, it definitely has a particular style to it. I want to say, like, Middle Eastern?
Yeah.
And does that change depending on who...
Yeah, it changes depending on who the faction is.
Interesting.
So all the factions look unique.
I was going to say, like, they sort of seem like faint extensions of their counterparts on Earth before any of this shit happened.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Resources exist to be consumed, and consumed they will be. If not by this generation, then by some future. By what right does this forgotten future seek to deny us our birthright? None, I say. Let us take what is ours, chew and eat our fill.
Oh dear.
CEO Nwabude K. Morgan, The Ethics of Greed.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What a great fucking title for a... Oh man.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I know exactly who this guy is now!
Yeah. And when you encounter him, you'll know what their motivations are.
It's like... Oh man, that's... Whew! But it's like a logical kind of greed?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But it really does, like, I think it was Traco Gamer in chat pointed out what these do is they also really drive home the idea that this is humanity's best and brightest out here.
Yeah.
Like, all these people are, like, they're literate, they're well-spoken, they have big ideas.
Fascinating.
They're driven. And so let's see
but
what...
yeah, they've not, like... They've not all converged on one solution.
Yeah.
They've converged separately on 7.
Yeah.
And
the
even
game
those
doesn't judge them at all.
Interesting.
Indigenous life form.
Uh-oh.
Ah! What is it?
It's an indigenous life form.
Shoot it! Or make peace with it?
It attacked us.
Jeez.
And it wasn't clear what that is there, but that is psychic combat.
Scientific theories are judged by the coherence they lend to our natural experience and the simplicity with which they do so. The grand principle of the heavens balances on the razor's edge of truth. Commissioner Pravin Lal, A History of Science.
Yeah.
Very, very beard strokey kind of character.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, we are learning how to fight better, right?
Yeah, an indigenous life form shoot it with your reaction. Ah, that's video games for, fucking with me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's an enemy. No, it's just, it just lives here. You're in its house.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Okay, so that's the extreme northern border of the map. Ah, good. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I remember there's a technology that you can get fairly early on in the tree that, when you discover it, gives you another free technology.
Ooh. Bonus.
So we didn't get that.
Nutrient resources.
And here is our border.
Hey. So the borders, what do those represent?
They are a diplomatic.
Oh, so it's
boundary.
like we've staked out. This is our territory.
Yep.
So you've encountered. Oh, she wants to talk to you.
Yep.
Hey, what's up?
Put her on the view screen.
Dude, your bioscan. That's invasive.
Yeah. But I like all of these too. Like that's, like that you have all these different pictures of them, like from a quick little dossier somebody's assembled.
So,
Right.
Welcome to Planet, Brother Lal. You may bring many talents to the new world. Permit me to reintroduce myself and style myself. Oh, she's got a new identity. Like
Yeah.
a makeover. Plan to guard, understand, and preserve planet's native life.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
It's a deal. Handshake. I hope this
Once
doesn't
a
bite us in
man
the
has
ass.
changed the relationship between himself and his environment, he cannot return to the blissful ignorance he left.
Like I love all of these
Motion
pictures here.
Of
That's good.
necessity involves a change in perspective. Commissioner Pravin Lal,
She was on a
a
lacrosse team?
social
She
history
played field
lab.
hockey.
Team player.
Yeah.
Literal, actual team player.
That when he worked on Deirdre, people hung out with him the most. Really? That's cool.
Huh. Take that crazy guy and witch.
Yeah, there's one of the technologies has this, like the only super, like, there's what is it, a running cadence? That's one of the technologies that's like,
What does it do?
you know, the marine running cadences.
I don't actu-
know what.
Oh!
Those things.
Oh. I see.
Yeah.
I know those.
That's
I
trade
just- I've never
technologies.
heard.
Discover a better way of
That
life
guy's-
than office holding for your future rulers. A well-governed city becomes a possibility. For only in such a state will those rule who are truly rich, not in gold, but in the wealth that makes happiness. A good and wise life.
Which is
Plato, the Republic,
an-
data links.
That's an interesting quote, right? But what is this technology actually? The overcrowding aboard the Unity following the premature wake-up caused terrible conditions for the crew, but also generated valuable data concerning humans under extreme environmental stresses. Analysis of this data provides the first comprehensive mathematical insight into the social psychology of humans.
What happens when you cram too many people into a tin can?
Like, this isn't even just like the, but this isn't, like, what they're talking about here is this technology, which is like the first tech on this tree, provides a mathematical model of how humans behave. Yeah, let's exchange maps.
See, now now that what you were talking about, it's given me this memory of Foundation series and what was it, Psychohistory? Or
Yeah, the psychohistorians.
yeah, where the basic premise of the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov is that this guy invents a
It
means
is
of
every citizen's final duty to go into the tanks and to become one with all the people. Chairman Shen Jiyang. Ethics for tomorrow.
Oh, I see. We just need to recycle you. Yeah, they discover a way to predict the future, but only
Indigenous life form.
on a huge scale.
Yeah.
Like they can only predict like cultural trends.
Complete.
Did that guy explode?
Yeah, he got eaten by worms.
Complete.
That's horrible.
Yep, it was bad.
Oh, we're making Soylent!
Production complete.
Man, how'd you like to be turned into coffeeist?
Not really.
Have you seen those ads?
No.
It's Soylent combined with coffee.
Really?
Yeah, for if you're really, 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 really in a hurry.
Wait, no.
Don't get me wrong, I actually kind of dig Soylent. Just as
I've never had it.
It's fine.
Uh,
It tastes like
The
beige.
righteous need not cower before the drumbeat of human progress. Though the song of yesterday fades into the challenge of tomorrow, God still watches and judges us. Evil lurks in the data links, as it lurked in the streets of yesteryear. But it was never the streets that were evil.
Ooh.
Sister Miriam Godwinson, The Blessed Struggle.
Oh, she was the chaplain.
yeah.
Turn complete.
Yeah, I guess she was, that makes sense. She was the chaplain and Lal was the first officer.
It's like, and now she's a missionary,
Mm-hmm.
sort of. Well, no, not a missionary, because that implies that there would be people who live here already.
Yeah.
Yeah, Soylent, it basically tastes like soy milk with a little bit more texture.
Ew.
It's really convenient, actually, which is the whole point. A mysterious monolith. Always investigate monoliths. Ooh.
Production complete.
Yeah, Soylent was pretty good for like low spoon days, where you're just like, I can't deal with making food.
Yeah.
I just want to become fed.
Yeah.
So it's good for that. But you know, these people who are paranoid about it replacing food, it's like, no, don't worry.
Yeah.
Your restaurants aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
Project initiated.
Begin construction.
Turn complete.
Hey! Okay, so which one is this guy? Hive, non-committal. Oh, is that his disposition?
Yep.
He's just like, hey.
Yeah. What are you all about now? But, like, I like his biography here.
Also in a class. Explorer. Fashionista. Whoa, okay, that's... Really? You know, like, you don't have to be like this. You are literally doing exactly what got us in trouble on Earth in the first place. But no, go ahead. Just go straight...
Yeah, straight to war.
Straight to extortion and war.
Yeah.
You dumbass. Also, it's like 20 years. It's like, hey, give me money. What? Give me money or we'll bomb you.
Production complete.
Only the strong survive, mumble mumble. It's like, I mean, we could all just work together, but...
Yeah. Why would we do that?
I mean, it's actually kind of logical. No war on planet, only vendetta.
Yeah, they declare vendetta.
Sure, okay. Let's call it what it is. It's basically just like, give me your lunch money, nerd. Factions don't go to war because they're in the same mission. Instead, they pursue vendetta.
Yeah.
That's... I really like that use of euphemism.
Yeah, it's actually kind of good.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, we're not at war. We sent a shitload of missiles and tanks and stuff, but, you know, it's just a vendetta.
Yeah, don't even worry about it.
Yep. It's a police action.
Turn complete. Turn complete.
So it's been 136 years. So these characters that you run into, I imagine that they have some sort of enhanced longevity because you'll be talking to them the whole time, right?
Yeah, they actually do. There are a couple of not quite cutscenes, but like little text things that pop up, where it'll be like you have a dream and wake up from it.
Oh yeah. No big deal. It's just a social experiment.
Turn complete.
Stuck in a border peninsula.
Yep.
So, I guess you're just getting set up with basics still, right?
Yeah.
A long-running series of border skirmishes.
He held his arm too stiffly, and so was thrown back repeatedly, until at last I seized his forearm and snapped it back against itself. His training suffered while the arm healed, of course, but I felt this was a lesson he must learn early, and well. Spartan Kell, honing the key.
I believe it's pronounced Chi.
Okay, we can now transport things.
Yay! You 150 years into the mission, you built a truck.
They actually comment on that.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what I've been told. I don't know what I've been told. Deidre's got a network no. Deidre's got a network no. Likes to press the on-off switch.
So bad.
that crazy guy on which? Take that crazy guy on which? Spartan, barracks, march! Yes, sir!
Yikes.
Yeah.
You got these clowns working for you?
Those were the Spartans.
Project initiated. Turn complete.
You're saying them discovering
production complete.
Trucks. Ooh,
They actually comment on that where they say like people. I think it's actually I forget her name now. The Spartan leader who's like, people ask me about this, why we can't build things that we had back on Earth.
Yeah.
She's like, if you need to build a truck, you have to build a factory. And to build a factory, you need to build a power plant.
Right.
And to build a power plant, you have to build a mine. And to build a mine, you have to build another, more different factory. Like,
and then,
there was an enormous... And then you have to feed and pay people and clothe people that entire time. Like, there was an entire industrial infrastructure on Earth that people took for granted that we don't have.
Yeah, it's true. It's just like, how do you build a truck? Well, it's like, well, I mean, I guess let's start with sticks and rocks. That's what I kind of hope that primitive technology is going to do, is that he's just going to keep going until he, like, reaches, like, uranium enrichment or something. That'd be an interesting project. Like, just throw some people in the wilderness with nothing and see how far along a real, actual tech tree they could get. This asshole again.
No.
Blood truce?
No, we got a rough start here, so...
So he's declared war on you.
Oh, yeah. He had already declared war on me.
He's just extra war.
Well, he offered peace.
No!
No, we won.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Hey! Fuck that guy. That man exploded.
Yeah.
There are two kinds of scientific progress. The methodical experimentation and categorization which gradually extend the boundaries of knowledge, and the revolutionary leap of genius which redefines and transcends those boundaries. Acknowledging our debt to the former, we yearn, nonetheless, for the latter. Academician Prokhor Zakharov, addressed to the faculty.
I don't even know if that's a proper Russian accent or not.
It sounds pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't know, but it sounds better than some Russian accents.
Terraform.
He sounds Czech, not Russian.
Terraform complete. Turn complete.
Kablamo!
Training and superior weaponry have taken together.
Yeah. Oh, Carl Sagan, yeah, if you want to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe.
Project initiated.
But yeah, it's just like, make an apple pie. You don't have an oven, or ingredients, or a cookbook.
Yeah.
Make a pie.
Yeah, get on it. What's wrong with you?
It's like, well, let's figure out where wheat is.
Yeah.
And then figure out where apples are. Then figure out how to harvest, preserve, and... Oh.
We finished a secret project, which is like a world wonder.
Ah!
Like, if you've ever played Civilization, they have the pyramids and the Eiffel Tower.
And, it's just like,
and you get a little movie.
Oh my god, holy shit.
Yeah, but they usually have, like, a fairly huge impact. Well, not a huge impact, but a reasonable one.
They were just talking about that. Oh, we broke it.
To map the very stuff of life. To look into the genetic mirror and watch a million generations march past. That, friends, is both our curse and our proudest achievement. For it is in reaching to our beginnings that we begin to learn who we truly are. Academician Prokhor Zakharov, addressed to the faculty.
Ooh.
So that's actually a fairly big bonus for us. As the UN, okay, basically, Talents are prosperous, highly educated citizens. Your intellectual elite. Talents are created as a result of favorable social conditions and the diversity of energy to psych. As long as the base has at least as many talents as drones, no drone rides occur. In Civ 2, these were happy citizens.
Oh, okay. But so it like the incentive for keeping your population doing well is that more geniuses will occur.
Yeah. And the United Nations, their faction trait is they get 1 extra talent.
Sweet.
Per base. So now we have 2 talents per base.
Is it through eugenics?
No, it's just because the UN, in the backstory, attracted the best and brightest.
Ah.
So we can have ocean units that can move around.
Boats! Do we want them?
Kind of.
Well, you know what you're doing. Also double votes.
Yeah.
Production complete.
Yeah, I guess they didn't think to put a truck factory on the colony ship.
Well, also the colony ship exploded.
Enemy project initiated.
Yep.
If our society seems more nihilistic than that of previous eras, perhaps this is simply a sign of our maturity as a sentient species. As our collective consciousness expands beyond a crucial point, we are at last ready to accept life's fundamental truth, that life's only purpose is life itself.
Oh shit, he figured that out quick.
Shen Jiyang, looking God in the eye.
Like, I just really, really enjoy this.
Well, the game has really excellent personality.
Mm-hmm.
Which I imagine is part of what attracted... Well, it's interesting because it seems to have, like... Its personality is woven into gameplay.
Yeah.
Like, the two aren't separate or in opposition of one another, which is a thing that happens in games a lot. It's like where you have, like, some good gameplay and maybe a good story, but they fight, or they're just, like, completely segregated from one another.
Yeah.
It's not often that you actually get, like, the two combined together in a way that, like, works. And it's like the gameplay complements the story and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, like, what I really enjoy about this is that there are no... All these factions really do feel like they're trying to do what's best.
Yeah.
Right? So now we have a choice between modeling our government, right? We've just unlocked a technology that allows us to use a planned economy.
Ludonarrative dissonance is the Ponzi term for that.
But as the United Nations, we already have negative efficiency. So adding 2 more, or subtracting 2 more efficiency will mean that our more distant bases are more expensive and difficult to upkeep, even if it improves our growth.
Interesting.
Oh, and our industry.
So yeah, well, like you said, all these factions, doing the best they can, where it's just like, there's not really... like a designated antagonist. There's just, like, behaviors that I imagine each faction could exert.
Yeah.
Just, like, turns out that's what being bad is. It's, like, very seldom is someone completely a binary shade.
Yeah.
It's actually just behaviors.
Now, we really need to start crushing Yang quickly. Because the problem is that what the colony does well, or the human hive does well, is heavy industry.
Ugh, that sounds bad.
So if they can get out ahead of you...
Then you're fucked.
Then they will just outproduce you.
Jeez.
The extra talents, the Human Genome Project, well, let's look at the thing. Boop-a-doo, boo-doo-doo-doo.
You've got a little graph of faction dominance.
Yeah. Where's the,
Where's you?
Sorry, where is the encyclopedia? Because it will tell us how the Human Genome Faction actually works. Or the Human Genome Project. Duh. Sorry. Help.
There's no bad guy here except Yang. Yang's a jerk. Although he's probably being a jerk for the benefit of his people.
Yep. So Human Genome Project. 1 talent in every base. Okay.
Got there. Just like, yes, if I wipe out everybody else, my my team will be the best.
Yep.
Sweet. You guys want to be the best? Yeah, we do. Okay, build more tanks.
The Human Genome Project just implies, I think, that basically you are... I'd assume what you're doing is a lot of genetic screening.
Oh, you just like...
On like, sperm and eggs, right? In order to eliminate, you know,
just like...
genetic
Please
conditions.
surrender your materials. They will be assembled and returned to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just means that you don't have congenital injuries, right? Okay, right.
A bunch of stuff happened.
Haha.
Got
Right.
it there. Did you blow it up?
Yeah. Okay, so somebody else built a secret project.
Fuckers.
Production complete.
Hey, you built a boat!
Yep.
That's actually pretty mega.
Yeah. God damn it!
Fuck. And your new boat exploded.
Yep.
That's awful.
Yep.
Wow. I feel really bad about that.
Yeah, we ran over a pod from the ship, which are scattered all around the map. And it was not a pod at all, it was a barbarian.
God damn it. You can just see, like, you can imagine the guy in the shipyard just like pounding on the dock, like crying bitter tears. It's just like, you blew it up! It was the first boat on this planet and you destroyed it!
Terraform complete. Terraform complete. Production complete. Turn complete.
Da-da-da-da.
Enemy project initiated. Unit lacks required ability.
Alright. Fine, fuckers.
Terraform complete.
Yeah, we have to let worms attack our cities to get all of the,
All the what?
At atrociously high energy states, the properties of matter change subtly, and new miracles become possible. The plasma accretion process is now dangerous and difficult to control, but its products will soon become commonplace in our society. Sister Miriam Godwinson, the Lord works.
It just derps.
Alright, so better armor.
Yay! Better cars. Better
Turn complete.
turrets on tank treads. Oh.
Turn complete. Production complete.
So these monoliths implied that there was some sort of intelligent life on this planet before you got here.
Yeah, they do. That's weird.
Yeah. You're gonna meet them, aren't you?
No.
Really?
Not until the expansion pack, but even then.
Really? Did they all just die out?
They've been gone for what's implied to be millions of years.
Oh my god, wouldn't that be just the thing? You do all this expansion and then you realize that the previous inhabitants of the planet fucked off like you did from Earth? And then they land on Earth. And you're like, no!
Are you fucking serious?
Jeez.
Production complete.
Yeah, because religion and science are not necessarily mutually exclusive. Yeah. I mean, it's like...
Terraform complete.
I think the compulsion is to treat those things as opposites. But they're kind of not.
Yeah, no, we just had a really rough start here.
Yeesh.
Like, we're gonna lose because we got, like, stuck between two...
that sucks. Well,
yeah,
I mean,
like, we... Normally, right now, we would have, like, 5 or 6 cities.
But you're just getting
because we encountered
hosed.
2 right away, we got hosed.
RNG! Yeah, they're not necessarily opposed, but sometimes.
Like, we haven't even managed to be able to stick a unit next to a city. Oh, good.
Hi. What do you want? 175 energy credits.
Turn complete.
Jeez.
Well, at least there's tons of mind worms coming at us.
Hey!
Combat support. Turn complete. Request confirmation. Production complete.
Blammo. What's that?
That was a mind worm.
Gross.
They get bigger.
That's good.
Yep. But now that one's attacked our city, we get a little interlude.
Hey. Ooh.
Walking alone through the corridors of UN headquarters, you skim the security reports on recent attacks by the horrific native mind worms. Giant swarms or boils of these mottled 10-centimeter nightmares have wriggled out of the fungal beds of late and now threaten to overwhelm base perimeters in several sectors. Victims are paralyzed with psi-induced horror, then experience an unimaginably excruciating death as the worms burrow into the brain to implant their ravenous larvae.
Ew!
Only the most disciplined security squads can overcome their fear long enough to trigger the flame guns which can keep the worms at bay. Clearly, you will have to tend carefully to the morale of the troops. Furthermore, since terror and surprise increase human casualties dramatically in these encounters, it will be important to strike first when worm boils are detected. You consider ordering some former detachments to construct sensors near vulnerable bases to aid in such detection efforts.
Production complete. Terraform complete.
Flame guns 420 blazing.
Terraform.
Morale of the troops and actual gameplay mechanic. Yeah,
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's ultimately one of those mechanics that, you know, has the capacity to be annoying, because in a video game you're used to, you know, people just being a pile of statistics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like enemies that are just perma-aggro.
Some vices miss what is right because they are deficient. Others because they are excessive in feelings or in actions, while virtue finds and chooses the mean. Aristotle, Nicomachean Ethics, Data links.
Like, this really comes down to Brian Reynolds, who was the actual designer of this game, not Sid Meier.
Oh, yeah.
But a guy named Brian Reynolds was the lead developer on this, having a very broad education and liking to read. Like, when you have software engineers and developers who actually have a broad education, you get things like this. Instead of people who wonder why they have to take, first-year English in university.
Yeah.
Complete.
I mean, people aren't even stupid. It's just,
Combat
like,
report.
I don't know, maybe lacking in vision?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not able to see eventual benefits from something that seems like a pain in the ass up front?
Yeah.
Because it's sort of how, you know, a lot of these things go, where it's just like, oh, this is going to be really annoying and boring up front, and then eventually it'll be like, oh, this is actually really great and important and useful. That's a lot of explosions.
Yeah. Lol.
Enemy project initiated. Terraform complete.
we have those too.
Gonna fight you.
Nobody fucking... We've had one positive encounter with somebody.
That sucks. Nobody speak. Nobody get choked.
Invalid terraform command. Terraform complete.
Hey, what's up? We have 2 wars on our hands. We're not even gonna make a 300. This is Sparta.
Oh, yeah, jokes.
Oh god, what does he want this time?
No, I'm not declaring war on your enemies.
What? Are you kidding me? You're just, like, you blew up all my shit. Is that your baby photo? You look like a loser.
Yeah, okay, let's end this.
Turn complete.
Sweet Jesus.
Yep. What a dick. We mostly end up getting sold heavy-handed, flat Philosophy 101 treaties like Bioshock. I mean, I guess, yeah, that was sort of what we came at. It's just like, you know, that standards are so low for, you know, video game narrative and ideas that something that, you know, just is adequate is lauded as a, you know, like, revolution. It's like, man, this media of video games is really, really young.
Yep.
And holy mother of shit does it show sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's exciting, though, you know, because it's growing.
Yeah.
But, holy fuck. There's gonna be shit we look back on and be so embarrassed.
Yep. Okay, so what they've done is they've just, they've gotten a truce specifically to, move troops into our territory.
Really?
Yep.
You can see them?
Yep. They're right here.
Fucking guys!
The entire character of a base and its inhabitants can be absorbed in a quick trip to the Rack Commons. The sweaty arenas of Fort Legion, the glittering gambling halls of Morgan Bank, the sunny lovers' trysts in Gaia's High Garden, or the somber reading rooms of UN headquarters. Even the feeding bay at the Hive gives stark insight into the sleeping demons of Yang's communal utopia. Commissioner Pravin Lal, A Social History of Planet.
You know what? I think I may have finally figured out why I play so many shitty games on Watch and Play. Now, the point of the stream is to play shitty games, but there's so many of the same. You know what they are?
What?
They're gamers copying video games. Not people who have an idea about a thing they want to do or an experience they want to create and making it through the medium of video games. They're just copying.
Yeah.
It's, you know what? Those games that we play on Watch and Play that are like the same generic bullshit and the same shitty like survival horror games, they're the equivalent of like really bad anime drawings.
Oh,
where
yeah.
when people just copy anime and then you get a generation loss because they copy all the mistakes.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, because they're not starting from brass tacks with like a vision of what they want to do. They're just like, I like this game, I'm gonna make a game like that.
Yeah,
which is not even a bad motivation, right?
No, yeah, but it clearly shows in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like most of my favorite games have a really clear, well-executed vision. You know, like Dark Souls, Dishonored, you know, even like Half-Life and stuff. Like, these are games that were just like, they had an idea of, you know, a world and a feeling the game would give you and a personality that it would do, and then all the shit in it complemented that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the mistake is starting at the opposite end. It's like, I want a game with crafting and a gun.
Yeah.
And it'll be an MMO.
Yeah. Those are all good things.
Yeah. It's like, what's the game about? Crafting and it's an MMO.
Cannot specify the nature and position of every capillary in the body or every neuron in the brain. What it can do is describe the underlying fractal pattern which creates them. Academician Proctor Zaharev, non-linear genetics.
Like, I mean, what you're discussing essentially is inbreeding.
Oh my god!
Terraform.
Wow!
Right?
Holy shit!
Where what you have
That's what it is!
You have things with problems, and then when you just reiterate on them, the problems get compounded.
Yeah, holy shit, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
So you need, like, fresh ideas and fresh inspiration and fresh talent and just, like, to, you know, you can take an existing idea and be like, how do we fix this? Or, like, this has promise. How do we, like, weed out its poor qualities and enhance its good qualities?
Yeah.
Video game inbreeding. Which is probably especially pernicious considering, you know, the like, video games are big now, but they're still, as compared to other mediums, pretty tiny.
Yeah.
So there's not even that much to draw from.
Will seek means by which his subjects will always, and in every possible condition of things, have need of his government. And then they will always be faithful to him. Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince, Data Links.
The bottleneck effect, yeah. It's also like, video games are advancing along like a hugely accelerated timeline. Because like, think about how long it took for, you know, motion pictures to get started. And that's now being compressed to like, I want to say, you know, the entire history of video games
For
has
fuck's
been like
sake.
20 or 30 years. Like, when did Pac-Man come out?
I don't know.
It's in the 80s. Now I'm curious. I'm not going to use that as the starting point for video games, but it's not a bad reference. (1980).
Proper care and
So, like,
education for our children remains
36
the
years?
cornerstone of our entire colonization effort. Children not only shape our future, they determine in many ways our present. Men and women work harder knowing their children are safe and close at hand. And never forget that, with children present, parents will defend their home to the death. Colonel Corazon Santiago, Planet, a Survivalist's Guide.
For going back to Space War, early 60s. Yeah. 50s or 60s, but yeah. Still, I mean, I think the point stands that video games have not been around for very long. 1980, that's almost 2 years.
Jokes.
Enemy project initiated.
Although I guess, like, you know,
Fossil fuels in the last century reached their extreme prices because of their inherent utility. They pack a great deal of potential energy into an extremely efficient package. If we can but sidestep the 100 million year production process, we can corner this market once again.
But what about the pollution?
CEO Nwabuduke Morgan.
The interesting thing with synthetic fossil fuels is that if you're not digging it out of the ground,
right,
it's carbon neutral.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, like nailing down exactly when video games started is, you know, difficult and kind of subjective, because it's like you could go from the very first prototype, or you could go from when they started becoming like a cultural icon. And it's like, both are kind of legit.
Perhaps a careful review of your options.
Yeah, we have no place to expand to.
That's awful. Go down or up. Leave the planet. Find a new one.
Ugh. Well, we've known how to make synthetic fossil fuels for a long time. It's just not terribly energy efficient right now.
Well, same with, like, fusion. It's like, okay, it works.
Well, I mean, like,
but we can't...
fusion we can't get to break even on.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, I guess it actually is the same problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, the success of, you know, energy is, like, input to output. One has to be enormously disproportionate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, your in has to be tiny, your out has to be huge. That's why nuclear is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, see this little handful of fuel? It's gonna power a city. What about after?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's what they're researching, is, like, if they can get it to break even, and then if they can get an energy profit off of it, then maybe it'll be useful. Well, I guess the potential for fusion is that it could potentially create a lot more energy.
Well, the comment on fusion that I've always liked is that we have a perfectly good fusion reactor.
You mean the sun?
Yeah. And it's 93 million miles away where it's nice and safe.
And we also have the means to collect it.
Yeah.
I hear solar's getting real cheap now.
It's, yeah, definitely getting there.
Excellent. I mean, that's where this kind of change is actually going to happen. It's like, shit, this stuff's cheap. We're going to make a mint.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, well, you also saved the planet, but sure. I'm glad you can afford your Lamborghini now.
Okay.
Complete.
Like,
If we're really bricked, then
yeah,
we're probably heading towards our first break, and then we can switch.
Yeah. What I'd like to do is actually go and look at a lot of, like, the videos and stuff for this game that characterize what I think it's... what I really want to talk about here is that this game does something very well that large 4X strategy games almost never do, which is to give you a sense for the people you're leading.
Because, like, I get the impression, like, this is one of the things that sort of puts me off, like, RTS, or not just RTS, but, like, resource management games, where it's just, like, it feels to me like playing a fucking spreadsheet, where it's just like, you have this many population units, and it's like, I don't give a rat's ass about these people.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is just pushing numbers around.
Yeah.
And, it's, for me personally, it's just not enough compulsion to play it.
Yeah. But what this does have is a lot of character, right? If you can get around the fact that, well, the Spartans have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10 cities.
That's fucked.
The Believers have 6, and we have 2.
Womp womp. Sigh.
So, yeah, there was a decision made with this game very early on to prioritize philosophy, really. Like, who these people were, what the humanity that was going to the stars would look like.
Right, yeah, it's just like, well, it would be... it would
like,
be our best
if we send our
brightest.
best and brightest to space, what kind of society would we want them to build, and what kind of mistakes would they continue to make, and what kind of solutions would you be able to find for them? And this game does that really well, and it uses a lot of tools that are already present in these games in a way that nobody uses them terribly well, or had used them in that way before. To tell a story about a fundamentally optimistic human future in space. And somebody in chat was saying that Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, like, Alpha Centauri is really down, right? Like, it's really down on humanity. And no, it's not. It's actually, like, a very optimistic story. That one of the developers working on Beyond Earth said that Beyond Earth was supposed to be optimistic, whereas Alpha Centauri was very pessimistic and cynical, and I don't get that at all. I don't get that at all from either of these games. Anyway, do we want to take a break and then come back?
Yeah, let's do that, and we'll come back.
Okay.
Then we'll show you something different.
Yeah.
So, stick around.
Okay. See you guys soon.
Boop.
Hey, everyone.
We're going to play YouTube.
Are we?
Yep.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, we're back. Yeah, so because we didn't get to see very much of that game, I would like to show you guys some of the other ways that the game it tells its story. So, like, these are all the secret projects. Oh, for fuck's sake. Here we are watching ads.
I hate this shit so much.
I hate you, Donnie!
Donnie!
Grr to great, Donnie. Grr to great.
You're right. There's got to be a better way to keep the lights on.
They're great!
Well, anyway.
And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live forever, we must send him forth. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken.
Brains.
The Conclave Bible. Data links.
Oof.
Like and a lot of what this game does, like the first thing you hear is the excerpt from the Bible about being expelled from the garden.
Yeah.
And a lot of this game is about returning to the garden. Right? That is a theme that this game has, where they are trying to recover this state of being with God. And spoilers,
Guys,
for fuck's sake.
Really?
And if you let me in! You're at a grr, Phil. We need you at a great.
They're right. I gotta be great for the team.
They're great!
All right. Here we go. The thing broke.
No longer mere earth beings and planet beings are we, but bright children of the stars, and together we shall dance in and out of 10 billion years, celebrating the gift of consciousness until the stars themselves grow cold and weary, and our thoughts turn again to the beginning.
like the overall idea is that all of that fungus that covers the planet is a neural network.
Oh shit.
And as the game continues, more and more of it starts to pop up. Like randomly it generates and there are fungal blooms everywhere.
Yeah.
And the mind worms start becoming more and more aggressive.
Uh-huh.
And you discover that the xenofungus constitutes a consciousness.
Oh.
And what happens is that it continues to grow, and as you learn more about it, you learn that it reaches a critical mass and basically wipes itself out.
Oh.
And it takes about 10 billion years. And you've had the misfortune of arriving basically on the cusp of that.
Oh no!
And you develop your technologies. The endgame win condition is that you prevent that from happening by taking the consciousness and educating it with, like, human culture, right? To give it a sense of not only sentience, but sapience.
Oh.
And you become this hybrid organism.
Whoa.
That essentially becomes godlike in the scope of its abilities and longevity. So it becomes this xenofungus that with human memories and identity.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty wild.
Which is a great science fiction thing.
That is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds like a good sci-fi ending.
Yeah, only they, like, the language they use is
you found
like
Space God.
A weirdly sexual metaphor where they're like, imagine the total contents of the data links pumped into the, and you're like,
It's just like when you nut and the neural net's still growing.
Yeah.
Ew, gross.
But what else? There's some really cool ones. Like,
how many more Tony the Tiger ads can we? Oh, it's an axe ad.
Oh, but we can skip it at
one
least.
time.
When I saw my drawings
Don't
come
care.
to life,
As the Americans learned so painfully in Earth's final century, free flow of information is the only safeguard against tyranny. The once chained people whose leaders at last lose their grip on information flow will soon burst with freedom and vitality. But the free nation gradually constricting its grip on public discourse has begun its rapid slide into despotism. Beware of he who would deny you access to information, for in his heart he dreams himself your master. Commissioner Pravin Lal, UN Declaration of Rights.
But like, that's such a wonderfully evocative first 9 words, right? As the Americans learned so painfully in Earth's final century.
That's
right.
Damn.
How's that for setting your stage?
Yeah, that's pretty mega.
Mm-hmm. And then there are
Heaven
just
lasts
these,
long,
right?
And earth abides.
Which is
What
just
is
like a
the secret
compilation of all the
durability?
of all the
Is it
quotes, which
because
is
they do
probably
not
not
live
something
for
that's really
themselves?
worth watching. But there
Again.
is
Well, there's
one.
just more like little
Yeah.
bits of personality.
Yeah, we can listen to this while I
Yours
search for
so
something
long.
else.
Lao Tzu, data links.
Yes, we've all heard the philosophers babble about oneness being beautiful and holy. But let me tell you that this kind of oneness certainly isn't pretty, and if you're not careful, it will scare the bejesus out of you. Anonymous Lab.
So here's one that plays. I forget.
sit in my cubicle, here on the mother world. When I die, they will put my body in a box and dispose of it in the cold ground. And in all the million ages to come, I will never breathe, or laugh, or twitch again. So won't you run and play with me here among the teeming mass of humanity? The universe has spared us this moment. Anonymous. Data links. I sit in...
So like that's just a little moment in the game, right? You research a technology or you build a new building and you get that. Which is just 100% about character. Right?
These are the people you're raising.
Yeah.
Or you are becoming of.
Yeah. And I love that it's anonymous. Like, I don't know who wrote that poem. I've looked for it in the past, and people are like, yeah, this was just an Alpha Centauri, and nobody knows who wrote it. Which I assume means Brian Reynolds wrote it. And
Maybe.
didn't attribute it to himself.
That's pretty cool.
So, this game uses all of the tools at its disposal to tell a surprisingly detailed story about humanity in space using the mechanism of a 4X game.
Yeah.
Which normally you don't really think of as having a lot of stories.
Yeah. I
right?
mean, it doesn't seem like a medium especially conducive to storytelling or anything. Like I said, it looks like playing a spreadsheet sometimes.
There's one more that I liked. Somebody in chat was asking for it. It's good. There it is. The self-aware colony.
The security of
hi, Snowden.
devices, whether it's your computer, whether it's your phone.
Why is
whether
he
it's
on
your
YouTube?
washing machine.
Don't know.
Oh well.
We must descend. We must descend. Will we next create false gods to rule over us? How proud we have become, and how blind. Sister Miriam Godwinson, we must descend.
You know, it's actually pretty wild seeing the same kind of like cheesy CGI aesthetic used for some pretty evocative imagery. Because normally I associate that look with like a big demon monster come around the corner, or somebody like picks up a big space gun, or like a thing crashes into another thing. It's just like, huh, that was actually kind of interesting.
Yeah,
and trying to imply a lot. So, well, let's make a mistake now.
Let's give it another shot. I've played this game some amount.
Because you had pretty strong opinions about this one. Well, let's see. Jaming Evolved. Okay, camps in a truck. And a bunch of launch pads.
Twilight of Earth's great civilizations, we were chosen. Some were selected for their skills, others for their strength, and some by luck. Great ships were the embodiment of each nation's ingenuity, courage, and faith. And they sent us to the stars in search of a new home.
I mean, wait till it reaches orbit.
As we raced skyward, we carried aloft the hopes and dreams of those left behind. Our journey through deep space was long and quiet. And it is finally over.
No, come back.
Now we look
Oh, my
on
chips.
our new world for the first time. On these alien shores,
You can save it.
our destiny waits. A new beginning for mankind.
Humankind. Sorry, I had a thing in my throat. Okay, so pretty similar start.
Yeah.
I mean, the benefit of, you know, some number of years of photorealistic CGI rendering. But, you know, we're sort of basically... Like, this is essentially the same thing. But it's like a bunch of different ships from different countries?
Yeah. So what that immediately tells us is that all these different nations have their own strategies.
Ah, okay.
So...
But they work together and use the same launch pad.
Nope.
What? That's... Okay. But they all launched at the same time.
So
they're working together, right?
Yeah. So these are the factions. Remember how the Alpha Centauri factions were based on the ideology of the leaders who wound up taking charge after the explosion on the ship?
Mm-hmm. Oh, look, that's a bunch of game statistics.
Yeah. Also, these are all, like, science fiction nations. Right?
Well, these are all like literally based on existing countries.
Yeah.
So yeah, Slavic Federation, Polistralia, Crikey, Brasilia. It's just like, so it's like they took the existing, countries and worked them up a little bit, but it's basically just like, well, it's like Risk.
Yeah.
Right. But the first thing I noticed, as you drew attention to, is like, rather than like, this is who we are, these are our deals, it's like, here are what bonuses you get when you play the video game.
Yeah.
Here, would you like to produce more units?
Yeah, I don't know who any of these people are.
Shit, yeah, it doesn't tell you anything about them.
No.
Like, does it, like, do their abilities at least infer what they're like?
Well, I mean, like, the Africans grow food.
Okay.
The Brazilians are militarily powerful.
Okay.
The as I discovered, the Indians acquire tiles twice as fast. Which if you're familiar with Civ, that means their cities expand faster. The Australians are good at trade. The Russians have better satellites, right? One free virtue with every 10 virtues earned.
I've just started this game. I don't have any idea what the fuck that even means.
The Western Europeans are virtuous.
Yeah, but like, if I'm starting this game for the first time,
mm-hmm.
what the fuck does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
In any context.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the previous game, it's just like, oh, this is what they're like. And it's like, I don't have any context for game statistics, but none are presented to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's irrelevant this early.
Yeah.
Game, plus 10% production towards, like, what are wonders in worker speed?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, worker speed makes kind of sense.
Like, I can kind of infer, like, a lot of things from this, but... I mean...
Well, I mean, it's like... I guess this is very well modeled for someone coming back to this series.
Yeah.
And not at all good for... I mean, maybe this game leans too hard on what was established in the first game without doing it itself.
Well, I mean, that would be like, I could see that. However, the devs talked endlessly about how this was not a sequel to Alpha Centauri.
Bullshit.
This has nothing to do with Alpha Centauri at all.
Uh-huh.
This is an entirely different game than Alpha Centauri.
Except it's humanity leaving Earth to forge a new world on a different planet, and then they all fight,
mm-hmm.
and it's a it's a resource management game built on that brand. You're just lying!
Yeah.
You're just fucking lying!
Yeah.
Why?
Like, that really came across as, do not compare this to Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri.
Oh, we sure will!
We're trying to do something different, and like, okay, fine. But I don't know who any of these people are. I guess I'm aiming for a culture victory?
Sure.
We have better spies? I mean, the rights to Alpha Centauri are a legal nightmare. But...
yeah, this is what you first... we're starting a new game. This is what you're greeted with.
Yeah. I just really like the essentialism kind of turns me off, and I mean, like, that's the thing that's present in Civilization as well, right? Where you have all these different civilizations that are good at things. So I mean, like, that's not a huge deal to me.
Yeah.
But like, where Alpha Centauri started off with ideology, this starts off with nation, right?
Yeah, it's a sort of like a direct extension of,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, alright, well...
Sure, these guys.
Okay, here we go. Man, don't you love it when you can just use the concept art?
Like, yeah.
I mean, it's like that's just a nitpick. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
This is fine.
Production's probably important.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, pick. All right. I guess
Like these all make sense to me. Like, to be fair, the factions make sense to me as starting off with somebody who's familiar with
sure.
civilization.
You know,
but
I suppose it. I mean, it is leveraging that literacy, but at the expense of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Sure. Let's try and put our city down from a broader array of things.
Ooh, it's an automated forklift.
Hmm. Sure.
Okay.
I did like this, that there were a bunch of different, like, planets to colonize, that they gave the planets, like, names, right?
That actually look like planet names.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
We're always going to give credit where it's due.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that bothers me about this is that Sid Meier has done a lot of interviews where he's like, look, I just want to keep politics out of my Civilization games.
Are you fucking shitting me?
No, I'm not.
I want to keep politics out of my Civ games, but I'm going to have a game that centers around a bunch of nations based on the actual nations in the world going into space and fighting one another and having abilities loosely based on what, you know, our cultural snapshot of those nations are.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No, I was able to find it in an interview where he's talking about, I was looking for if Civilization 6 last week, before I bought it, had climate change. Because it's been in previous Civilization games, and Civ 5 didn't have it. And that really surprised me, because it's kind of like a big threat that we're trying to deal with right now.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that was his response to being asked that.
He doesn't want to put politics in. It's like, oh dear.
I'm the Advanced Integration and Simulation Resource.
Hi, Advisor.
I am equipped to introduce you to the basic systems that will guide your development on this.
Goodbye, Advisor.
Additionally, I can provide strategic advice.
All right.
Oh, it's hexagons now!
Yeah, no, this is actually good. The hexes are something I really enjoyed. Thank you.
They let you choose between communism, liberty, and fascism.
Yep.
This isn't a political game at all,
No,
guys.
no, not at all. Not at all.
Like, oh my god.
God, what are the resources?
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. How about here, so we can gather... I forget what this is. Firaxite. Right. Firaxite Studios. So the cybernetic resource is called Firaxite.
Those are meteor craters?
Yeah, and then there's also, like, these tiles, which I think damage your units when you move through them. Because, you know, it's a hostile environment.
So, okay. We can talk, you know, about things that maybe this game improved. And I get the impression that the mechanics were all greatly improved from the previous games.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this UI is way cleaner.
It is.
You know, the game's obviously prettier. There's more animations, all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
This game is the result of 20 years of intense evolution, right, on these games.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. It is a much easier to play game. It's a, you know, a very pretty game. Thank you. Go away.
Excuse me. Firaxite? Unobtainium. Exclamation mark. Game pretty but intellectually unsatisfying.
Yeah, it is. Right?
Interesting.
So when we research our first technology, I will ask you the same question I asked you when we researched our first technology in Alpha Centauri.
Okay.
Which is, what does this tell us?
Yeah. Bees!
So,
wait.
This is our building menu.
You
So
can
we have two
build-
things we can build. These are fairly like clear, right?
Clinic or old Earth relic.
Yeah, you can build basically like a monument to Earth.
Okay. For morale?
Yeah, well, it builds culture.
Okay.
Which, if you've played Civ 5, and most of the people who would be interested in playing this game would already be familiar with Civ 5, but in Civ 5 you had to figure it out there too. Culture is what allows you to build culture. Culture is a resource generated by your cities that allows you to make your society more sophisticated.
Okay, so here you've got, I guess, is this like the analog to the trees you had before? There's like...
No, this is the social tree. The tech tree is something much more complex. But this is what culture does, right? Okay. Basically, it allows you to take these traits for your society that will modify what your society does.
Okay.
Right? So normally when a city grows, like you build up food, and then when you max out your food bar, the city grows by 1, and your food bar gets knocked back down to 0 again. Right? So this affects that, right? This is all fairly self-explanatory.
Okay.
This is the tech tree.
Holy Jesus! Okay, well, I mean, gamers like granularity. That I'm not going to argue with because, because my not liking this is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Does it work for this kind of game?
Yeah. This,
Okay,
it's not a tech tree.
It's not as big
as
I thought, but still, it is...
You can't zoom out.
Oh, well, that's... I mean...
Where's the middle? Okay,
I thought it was going to go way bigger, but, like, you know what? This reminds me of the sphere grid.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you...
What do we research?
I don't fucking know. Okay, so you start in the middle.
Yep.
And then you just sort of move out. Does everybody start in the middle?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know what I really loved about Final Fantasy X?
Mm-hmm.
The sphere grid. Mm-hmm. Even though it was super complicated, it was like this huge grid, just like this. Each character in the game started at a different spot.
Oh, okay.
And they could advance to anywhere else on it. And I thought that was really clever, where it's just like, it's like I'm a fighter character, but I can start speccing my way over to magic or something. It's like I can eventually hit anything. I was just like, that was kind of interesting, but I guess everybody starts the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, you remember how we were given 4 options?
Yeah.
In Alpha Centauri.
Which is like, what type of
what do you want to prioritize? This gives you...
So we have 5 options?
We actually have 7 options. Or, sorry, 6 options, because we can continue... There are the branches, and then you can go in depth on something.
Okay.
But the way Alpha Centauri did this is they actually hid this from you.
So
right?
So this existed, but they just were like, what are your values? What do you want to...
Yeah. Like the question that Alpha Centauri asks is, what is your value? What are your values, and what do you want to prioritize? Mm-hmm. This asks you what buildings you want to... Like, it's a valid question.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You know what? This seems like the decisions that the actual, like... This seems like a step more granular. Like, if you, the player character, are meant to represent, like, a governing force, the types of decisions you would make would be those broad strokes kind of things. It's like, we want to, emphasize, I don't know, like, this one type of initiative. And then you, the scientist, you figure out how to get to that. But we're actually just being, like, put on the ground level of, the actual, like, physicists and chemists and geneticists, like, what specific things. So, in a sense, like, how do these people know what their, cultural ramifications are going to be of all this shit?
Yeah.
Right? It's weird because, like, you've got, like, 2 levels of perspective here. The sort of overarching, I'm in control of everything, and I'm trying to call the shots as best I can for the good of my civilization. But I'm also, like, worrying about chicken shit and, the nitty-gritty little nuts and bolts.
Yeah. And, I mean, the Civilization games have kind of always done that. Alpha Centauri was the only one that had blind research, if I'm remembering correctly. So this, or not the tech web, excuse me, the tech tree, as I'm sure somebody in chat corrected me that this had a tech web, which is very different than a tech tree, and there is a difference there. But in Civilization, it starts you off with agriculture, and your choices are mining, animal husbandry, irrigation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that make sense to us.
Because
Mm-hmm.
it's also just like starting off. It seems like a really brass tacks beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like, how do we eat?
Yeah, like
let's research physics first.
Yeah,
we don't have any fucking food.
Like
we're living in the discarded fuel nacelle
mm-hmm.
of the spaceship that we crashed on here.
Yeah,
it's like okay. So what are we actually gonna pick?
No, I don't even remember.
Reveals titanium on the map. Okay.
So, okay, it does tell us that, like, you know,
who wants what.
Yeah, this will have more military applications. This will have economic, and this will have more research.
It would have been nice if you had somebody like pop up like you did in the previous game and just be like, hey, here's why these things would be good for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I turned off the tutorial because that's not what it does.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Right.
A minor defeat. Wait, did we already lose?
No, it's telling us what would happen if we attacked this square.
Seems bad.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to be attacking the indigenous life awfully soon.
Yeah. Let's not do that.
Leave that shit.
Alien nest discovered.
Oh, gross. There's bugs everywhere.
Yep.
Oh god, Zergrush.
Oh, right. My asthma. But like the combat that occurred in Alpha Centauri with the indigenous life was psychic combat, and it was immediately obvious that something different was happening. Right?
This is just, there's bugs.
Yeah.
There's enemies.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you said, by the end of the game, the life forms that you're fighting are part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
These, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are just enemies.
Yeah.
Like, these are mobs.
There are 3 end games for this game. One of which is, like, the 3 ideologies that happen are basically, like, traditional Earth values, where you want to be as human as possible, and that's very kind of, it's kind of conservative, but it's also very kind of, like, art-heavy, where you're trying to be human. Mm-hmm. And your end game criterion is you build a portal back to Earth, and you bring colonists through. Like mass, millions and millions of people. The other one is a cybernetic one, where you basically, like, evolve, or you change humanity. You know, you become more machine, and your end game is to go back and invade Earth and conquer it.
Jeez.
For reasons.
Yeah, why?
And the third one...
Sorry, hang on.
The third one is you... Don't even worry about it.
I am worried. Why the fuck would you go back to Earth? You escaped Earth because it was fucked.
Yeah.
Why are you going back?
Yeah.
No, like, please give me a compelling reason. I believe you if there is one.
I don't know. I don't remember it. It's how I won the game when I played this on stream, but I don't really remember why I wanted to invade Earth. You want to forcefully roboticize Earth. Because there are still people living there. Because Earth is still habitable in this. You go back to Earth and you bring people through, and they can just, like, come through and live here. So, like, in Alpha Centauri, what they make a point of telling you that you stopped getting transmissions from Earth before you arrived at Alpha Centauri. right? Like Earth is gone. Earth.
It went dark.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But here you go back and you invade. And the third ending is the...
Basically, you're Eggman.
The third ending is that you modify your humanity again, but you meld, you become better adapted to the planet you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And so you, like, the traditionalists get, like, big tanks and things as their unique units, because this all translates militarily. The cybernetics get, like, battle robots and mecha.
Yeah.
And the biologist ending winds up riding around the bugs.
Ah. So it turns into Dune.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you become human, cyborg, or transhuman. Huh.
But yeah, these guys are basically always barbarians. And they were barbarians in Alpha Centauri,
but
that's how they behaved in game. But they had a context outside of that.
Yeah, like this seems like less interesting.
Yeah.
Where it's just like we're just gonna remove their context from the world and from the story, and just have mobs.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's no problem with mobs, but it seems like weird that they had it that interesting before, and in a iteration where they had, you know, the opportunity to improve things, chose not only to not improve them, but actually like roll them back.
Yeah.
That's just confusing. Although it lets you leave them alone, which is a twist from the normal. It's like, okay, well that's something, but it's like. You hate... Sorry, Kyodor. I hate how Earth heavy this game is. Isn't this supposed to be Beyond Earth?
Yeah.
It's right there in the name!
Dominated. So we tried moving, and we got attacked by indigenous wildlife.
So this is not a story told to you, it's a story by you. But that's what you did in the previous game as well. You just had, you know, more context for it.
Yeah.
Because you were still making those decisions, but it just seemed like they mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Yeah.
Just top button in all caps, declare war. Fuck you!
Discuss? Deal. We have no deals.
You want a deal?
Goodbye.
Vendetta upon you. Jeez. Yeah, I like the declare war as the top option.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, there's more of them landing. Hi! Are you the armyman?
They are.
Wait, is he wearing a Hex shirt?
Yeah.
Well, that's a little on the nose.
Quests updated. So you can do quests, right?
Okay.
When we came to this planet, we brought a number of plants from old Earth. Somehow one of these plants has taken root outside of Mandira and turned invasive. If left unchecked, it could convert the local environment to a more Earth-like ecosystem. Whether that's a good thing must be decided. Interesting.
Okay.
I mean, that's a decision you get. Quest decision.
Excuse me.
So right away it tells you, yeah, sorry, the three win cons are harmony. Is it harmony? Yeah, harmony, purity, and supremacy.
Yeesh.
So harmony is the ride the bugs one. Purity is the Warhammer 40k humans one. And
Or the
supremacy
Emperor.
is the
Destroy everything.
transhuman, but not really transhuman, just robots.
Robots.
Like, my instinct would be to contain it. But what happens is that now that we've made that, we have committed to a path, basically, because we will basically start acquiring levels along these trees, and you cannot research several technologies unless you have a certain level along one of those paths.
Mm. Oh, is the background in the wiki?
Like, where is the... There's the Civilopedia.
Is this where, like, a lot of the...
Right, like, these games have always had the detail here. Civ 6 does not have a very good Civilopedia, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. What I really liked about Alpha Centauri was it told you these things as they occurred. You didn't have to go and look them up.
Yeah, but I mean,
It prioritized making sure that you knew.
Well, because it would be news as it happened, right?
Yeah.
And
Equinar, what's incorrect?
Cabathought of Protectorate.
The texts totally have requirements. I remember that very specifically.
They've updated the game. You now get bonuses for multiple tracks like Harmony and Purity.
Oh, okay.
What, like, is it a patch or is that the expansion? Because I heard that the expansion adds boats.
Yep. People were like, you need to play this game again now that the expansion is out. It totally changed it. I read what the expansion did, and it added boats. And I was like, that wasn't the problem I had with this game.
Texts don't have requirements, buildings and units do.
Oh, okay. Well, I played this game a couple of times last year. Okay. So, what do we want here? Prosperity? Growth?
Hybrid stuff.
Sure.
Develop foresight. Scry 2.
Developing technologically is usually fairly strong in civilization.
Hey guys! Look. I think they're French. What's their starting bonus?
More virtue.
Yeah, like, these factions that have landed, we certainly haven't gotten a sense for their personality.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine that would occur when you watch them expanding and, like, find out what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you could learn their...
Lol.
learn their intents through their actions, which is, a legit way of, relating that. But does that happen? Do each of these factions behave in a different style?
They do. It's kind of interesting in that, like, as you develop technically,
yeah,
and you progress down these trees, you basically stop interacting with the people who are not along the same tree as you. It drives you into conflict with the people pursuing the same identity as you, instead of into conflict with the people in different identities, because the only threat to your endgame plan are the people trying to do the same thing as you. Right? So if you're doing purity, you have to go to war, basically, or try to outperform the other purity factions, instead of making allies of them. Right? They're your actual rivals rather than your allies, even though you share ideology with them.
What?
Yeah.
And that's like a mechanism in the game. You can't decide to.
Yeah, no, because when you're getting towards the end game, you want to win, obviously.
Right.
And the people menacing your end game plan are the people trying to enact that same plan. Right? Like that's just how it pans out. But instead of cooperating with them, you wind up
sounds very human, actually. I mean, yeah. No diplomatic. That's basically no matter what, this is a zero-sum game. Well, that's kind of crap. Like, how cool would it be if, you know, one of your end games is like you get everybody to actually cooperate?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was something that I would have loved to have seen in any Civilization game. Because in Civilization, like, 5, the diplomatic victory was, you basically, like, armbar everyone into voting for you.
Yeah.
So what are we getting out of this tile? We aren't working this tile anymore.
You have to stop everybody from winning, not just on your same affinity. But that doesn't make sense, because they're going for the same thing you are. Why the fuck don't you work together?
Yeah.
You know, it's like if your values are aligned and you are all human, so it's like, surely we should be working together. But I mean, I guess I wonder if that's just like the needs of gameplay conflicting with the needs of like narrative. Or so there has to be a winner. And
yeah.
The winner has to be you. You win or lose this game.
Mm-hmm.
And to win or lose this game, you need to eliminate all competition. There can be no like harmony with the opposing enemy players.
Yeah.
It's like, that seems...
I mean, like, Alpha Centauri does, like, one person wins in Alpha Centauri.
Yeah.
But it at least makes the point of trying to tell you that it's a victory for everyone.
Okay. In Civ 4, the diplomatic victory included just being in an alliance with all other surviving players. That would be sweet.
Yeah, that I like that.
Civ is a war game, don't you know? Jesus.
And we do get to learn a
place.
bit about the character of our people through this. Why does there have to be one winner?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there has to be one winner because it's a video game.
Why?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's what I mean about like the supposed needs of gameplay, like conflicting with, you know, needs of narrative or of, you know, just personality of the game. Or it's like, because it is a video game, there must be one winner, and they can only win in this way. Interesting.
And I see a lot of people talking about, like, well, I mean, you have to decide whether you want, well, not decide, but, like, narrative or gameplay, right?
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
We proved that in the previous game, that it did both and weaved them together in a way that worked.
Yeah.
You can do it. It's rare. But it is possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, what we're assessing here is, like, how, you know, they managed that the first time they did this and didn't manage it the second time. It is interesting because, like, maybe this is a problem that is unique to video games, is because, like, they have, like, the obligations towards gameplay and narrative are sometimes, like, completely opposed to one another. You know, it's like in a movie or, like, a comic book or something, it's just like, it is there to tell a story. And everything you do in it is to tell that story. And if you put in shit that doesn't tell the story, then, like, you fucked up. But this, you know, the medium of video games, you know, there is oftentimes an obligation for it to, like, play well and also to have an interesting story. And, you know, those things aren't mutually exclusive, but they are often treated as such, and they often end up as being such.
like, one of the people I follow on Twitter was talking about why she doesn't like horror games.
Yeah.
Because she said most horror games end with you winning or surviving.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of something that shouldn't be guaranteed in a horror game.
In this game, they decided to focus on gameplay and not on narrative. Why is that a bad thing? I think
because they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, the answer's in the question.
Yeah.
Like, this is an iteration on a formula that, not even a formula, but like an execution that worked really, really, really well. And this one doesn't.
Yeah.
So, along one metric of measuring this game, it's poorer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're not saying that the gameplay is bad. We're merely pointing out that, you know, it has a shortcoming.
Games don't need to have a good story to be good. Well...
Yeah, but... No, they don't. But... I feel like I'm having a hard time getting my point across here.
Yeah, like, you don't need to have this binary decision between having narrative and gameplay.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. Flat out, full stop. There is no decision to be made there.
Yeah.
You cannot only have one or the other.
Yeah, you don't have to pick. Like, I'm not gonna disagree that it's challenging, because like that's a big, you know, bill to fill. And, you know, a game that is trying to have narrative and gameplay like this one, you know, if they've tipped the balance in favor of one over the other, then that's going to show.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to point that out, that it's like, look, they did it like this, and this end is lower than the other one. It's not even a seesaw, because that implies that they're mutually exclusive, which they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the point Cam was trying to make about the previous game is that, like, it was really engaging because it did both of those things well, and that they were combined and complemented one another.
Yeah.
And this game, I think, loses something by, you know, focusing on the nuts and bolts of, you know, actually playing it over why you play it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
yeah,
the nuts
exactly
and bolts are, you know, why a lot of people do play it. But it's just like, maybe it's why you give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, I mean, I did not come back to this game after I played it.
Yeah.
Like, I played it on stream, and I beat it. And whenever I wanted to play this game again, I either played Alpha Centauri or I played Civilization 5, both of which did what this game does better.
We're not judging a game for failing in storytelling when it's not trying to be a masterful storytelling experience. Like,
like, also, I just find those themes, like the themes and the victory conditions of this game, actually really unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to win under any of those conditions.
I mean, they don't sound great.
Like, none of those are very good. And that is, like, when people say that these are not optimistic visions of humanity.
Yeah,
these are fundamentally incredibly cynical.
Yeah, your end game is subjugation.
Mm-hmm.
What was it, like
colonialism?
Yeah, colonialism, or like those aren't positive
Fusion,
outcomes at all,
right?
You know, like maybe one of those is, but it's just like, oh.
Well, saving the doomed peoples of Earth is good.
At what cost?
And it explicitly says that, you know, you're paving this planet to turn it into a new Earth. Like, they put the story here, so I'm engaging with it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want from me. Like, this is the story they're telling, and I'm being like, I don't like any of that.
But it's not trying to tell you a story, Cam. It's not trying to be a great narrative.
Oh, yeah.
This is why we're frustrated,
yeah.
okay? Because, like, we're engaging critically with something, and the goalposts are being moved, you know. Like, why aren't... You know, I would throw it back to the chat. It's just like, why aren't we allowed to criticize traits of this game that we feel are lacking?
Yeah.
Right? And again, especially considering the context of this, where we played these games one after another specifically to contrast. It's like, here's when this works, here's when it doesn't.
I'm not saying you're not allowed to like this game. I'm telling you why I don't like it.
Yeah, like, if you want a resource management game with, you know, these nice graphics and lots of tech trees and stuff, this is gonna be your thing. Like, us critiquing something doesn't... This is where critique falls down on the internet so often, because people perceive critique of a thing they like as a personal attack. That we are attacking a thing you like, and by extension we are attacking you and your taste. But we're not. You know, we're engaging critically with a piece of work and giving our thoughts on it. And your enjoyment of this game is separate from our opinion of it. Our opinion to you may be irrelevant, but here we are on this show giving it for people who may find it useful, for people who may, you know, disagree with it, who may, you know, get, like, it's just meant to stimulate thought, right? Like, because we don't like this doesn't mean you are not permitted to enjoy it. That is not what we're saying. I mean, your waifu is shit, but... Like, I can't make you not enjoy a game you enjoy. Even if I wanted to. I do not have that power. And if you do find your enjoyment diminishing from hearing my opinions of it, maybe that's because you're sharing my insight into it. I don't know, but like, if you're really, you know, into something, I can't stop that. Not, you know, not that I would if I could. And also taking, you know, criticism one point of the game saying the entire game is terrible. Yeah, it's, I mean, it's not. Like, we're again, this is where binary thinking destroys all insight into anything, is because things have to be good or bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, so everything's set up like that. Like, even fucking Steam review systems, it's like, was this game good or bad?
That's it.
Pick one.
Yeah.
You can write commentary, but it's good or bad.
Yep.
That's it. You can't, you know, there's no sliding scale, there's no anything. And even if you did put that in, people would still go good, bad. It's like Metacritic. People rate 10 or 0.
Yeah.
That's it. It's 10 or 0 because, you know, it's like, it's perfect and it's great and wonderful, or it's shit. There's just like, there's no nuance. And that just chokes off any kind of understanding, where it's just like, you know, some parts of this was good, you know, other parts are bad, and, you know, like, having hexes is cool, but the narrative's not as compelling, and the values of the people in this game is not as interesting as it was in, you know, the previous game, even though it's a sequel, and they, you know... Space Marines. I mean, it's like, even our own rating system is completely binary. It's like game good, game bad.
Yep.
I don't even think I like that, because it's like, on the one hand, it gives you a kind of like skewed, distorted image of what the game was actually like. And on the other, if somebody, picks, red or blue, black or white, left or right, they're gonna get shit for that, which is stupid. I don't blame Paul. Like, I understand why people want that, is because, they can throw in their 2 cents about the game. But, like, you see what I mean about it, the binary system just, like, being kind of myopic.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I try to evaluate
magenta.
I try to evaluate things based on utility. Right? Is this useful or not? And
But it's not just a game in the same genre. It's a sequel with the same branding. Like, you can't say it's not a sequel. I don't know. I mean, it's like sequels have their own problems to begin with, but if we don't identify what those problems are, maybe we won't get to avoid them next time.
Like
a sequel to what? The game we just played. Alpha Centauri, yeah.
Like it's an okay Civ game. I liked Civ 5 better than this, so I never came back to this ever.
How is calling it a sequel to Alpha Centauri not fair? I'm asking that question earnestly. I do not understand. Like, you saw how it began. It's essentially the same thing. If anything, it's almost a remake. But this is following the same style of game and almost basically the same starting point.
I think it's entirely fair to engage with this
also
through the lens of Alpha Centauri.
Yeah, also, them saying it wasn't doesn't necessarily matter. Have you ever watched The Room? Because there's a character in it that every character in the movie insists is beautiful and radiant and just like this great person, and the actress does not portray that at all. Saying something is a certain way, and it being a certain way does not always line up. It's like saying, I don't want politics in my game. It's like, well, I got bad news for you, because there's politics in your game.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think the clearer one is from Black Wolf.
What's that?
Walks like a duck.
Yeah.
Like, talks like a duck.
Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Oh, it's not a duck. It's more of a...
They said it wasn't a duck. Yeah.
So? Like, what they... Maybe what they intended and what they achieved are not necessarily the same thing. Civ 5 in space, the worst philosophy. Yeah.
Not gonna argue with you there. I don't remember what any of these things do. Sure.
The only thing it has in common with Smack is the same central concept, and the company publishes. Also, you build and colonize and move around in squares.
Yeah.
And you have faction wars. And it's also like a Sid Meier game. Like, his name's on it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I feel like we're talking... Like, I get into discussions like this where I feel like I'm talking across purposes. It's just like... Exhibit A through Z. It's like, no, that ain't me. What? I don't get it.
Okay.
Like, how much similarity does something need beyond what we've already drilled into the ground to it for the label of sequel to materialize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It follows up and iterates on a previous work. It even shares some of the branding. Bloodstained Mighty Number 9. Yeah. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are we doing in the game?
Okay, I think. We're less pinned into a corner than we were in Alpha Centauri.
That's good.
And right now it plays a lot like any other Civ 5 game, except there's hexes you can enter but will damage you.
Oh, yeah.
Because they contain noxious alien gases that will later become a resource, if I remember correctly, which is kind of like the fungus in Alpha Centauri. And there are usually fairly docile barbarian units running around that will attack under different circumstances. We're starting to develop a character for our people.
Learned he was the only one of his kind on the new planet. His howl
I did
echoed
like
through the
these, the
rifts
Uncle Never
and
Cloned
off the
stories.
distant
These
Uncle
new
Never
fairy...
Cloned?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Oh, new
New fairy tales.
Oh! Interesting.
Anyway, I've boxed these guys into a corner, so now I'm going to massacre them.
Okay. Get to Zergs. Yeah, I mean, it's like sequel, spiritual successor, like, it kind of feels like semantics at a certain point. It's like, okay, sure. Maybe they tried different things with this game. And even if that's true, we're still pointing out how we feel about them. So we're back at 0. Right, like, can I just say I absolutely loathe getting into long-winded semantics arguments that don't actually, like,
mean anything
or
accomplish
accomplish anything or help the discussion at all. Like, it wears me out. You know, this is why every time this sort of, like, game, not a game thing gets brought up, like, I just want to rip my hair out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we are wasting so much time having this stupid argument.
Yeah.
When we could be discussing anything about games, about culture, about art, about, you know, what these games mean, how, you know, they're advancing things they've done right and wrong. No, we need to nail down what the fuck they're called.
Yep.
And it has to be not this.
Yeah.
We have to define it by what it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, that's why that exasperates me to no end. So, Cam said the culture is developing its personality. Does that mean the character of your civilization is an emergent thing? Was that intentional? Maybe.
I think so.
Okay.
Like, you can develop, like, what the virtue tree allows you to do is decide what your people care about, which is very similar to how it worked in Civ 5, right?
A couple people were pointing out that this wasn't a game that is told at you. It's a game that a story you tell about yourself through your actions. And it's like, I can get behind that. I can.
Mm-hmm.
But like, does that pan out?
It does, because it alters the behavior, right? Which I think is interesting, right? As you develop these bonuses, right? The things that your civilization does well or does poorly, that alters how you play the game, right? And it doesn't change the personality of who your people are, but it changes their behavior, which de facto is their personality, right? You will go to war or not go to war with someone based on the decisions that you make here. You will expand or not expand. You will, you know, pursue certain strategic actions or not based on what you do here. or requires certain resources. So I think that is a useful and good way of doing this. I like that. I do.
Okay.
I still find the tech web confusing. Honestly, I'm gonna say confusing. I didn't want to say confusing because people were like, "Oh, don't worry. You know, once you start liking these games, you'll get better at it," or something else condescending, right? Which is what happens whenever you make a concession that something is confusing. But I think it's an interesting idea that is overwhelming. I don't know what any of these things do, right? Okay, chemistry, cool. What does it do? How does this change my world?
Like mouse over it?
But it doesn't tell me anything, right?
You can build these things and it reveals this thing.
Right, which is literally what these icons are.
I guess, like, if you know, the idea of the story for this game being an emergent thing, that you know, who you are is determined by your actions, is an interesting idea. But the player needs to know what the fuck those actions are.
Yeah.
So they can decide. It's like, well, I want to, you know, these are my values, even if there's not like a button for it.
Yeah.
And I want to develop in this particular way. It's like, is that maybe just like a pure mechanics problem with this game?
It might be,
as
because
opposed
the
to
game,
like a thematic one.
At least, like, when I was playing it, people are now telling me there's hybrid values, or virtues. Is that you could play it out by ear, but you would not develop on a path that would win you the game. Right? It would be like if you were playing... Well, if you were playing like an RPG, right? And you were like, oh, I like spirit. I don't know what that stat does, but I want my character to be a spiritual person. And as it turns out, it's just a useless stat that doesn't do anything, like resistance in Dark Souls.
Oh my god, resistance in Dark Souls.
Right?
No,
you
you pin it at 40, you get to the soft cap, and it does something. No, it doesn't.
Where you find that out, and you're like, oh, I just wasted 40 levels.
Whoops.
Yeah. I guess I'm not doing this one. So it's like I did not find this helpful or terribly clear, and that's a problem in a game where you need to make decisions about how you're going to win the game very early on.
I don't know. I mean, like, they had, like, I like the idea of, you know, there being an emergent story. This was in some ways what we discussed with Minecraft, where it tells you nothing. It just puts you in a situation, and who you become and, you know, what you decide to do through your actions is what the game becomes about.
Yeah.
And that game is set up very well for you to accommodate you for that. You know, and it has a particular flavor because most of it will involve mining and crafting. But, you know, to what end is the player's own idea. And it's like, maybe they were trying to go for something more organic, whereas as opposed to, like, we have a kind of a story written for you, although that wasn't even the case in Alpha Centauri, because, like, you still get to, you know, go in different directions, and, like, each one of those research trees, you know, you get the little blurb that's just like, oh, and this is what happened when you came up with this thing. So your path through there is not even just like, I wish I had this thing that I drew about, like, how game paths and endings, because the one I came up with was, like, there's, like, one in point and then a bunch of spaghetti coming out and curling towards and then focusing back on the end.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of games go.
Oh, yeah,
and that
absolutely.
spaghetti in the middle is the really interesting part.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, that's what the Mass Effect games are like.
Yeah.
Where you start off, like, going through the mass relay to New Eden, and you end the game on the Citadel destroying Harbinger? Not Harbinger.
Yeah.
Whatever the first thing is. And there's a whole bunch of decisions that you made in the middle, and then you converge on the identical ending with a different paint coat.
I mean, some other
and we
games
won't get into that, but, like, yeah, like, the spaghetti in the middle is kind of the interesting part, and that's where you felt connected to your character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
Sovereign.
It's
yes,
actually
Sovereign.
It's pretty interesting to think about how you know, what that line would look like for different games. Like Super Mario Brothers or something like that would be line, like beginning straight to the ending.
Yeah.
And then others would be like line, branch, reconnect. Or like line, split into endings. You know, that kind of thing. Those are actually fascinating to me, and I should draw a bunch of them.
Yeah. And what I did like about the emergent character of your society in this game was that you would never complete the tech tree.
So you had to pick what you valued, and you
did not get everything.
Okay.
Which I really liked. I thought that was a very good thing that this game did. Because
then you get a very clear visual representation of what you're leaving behind to go after what you value.
Yes, exactly. Like you get to see the paths not taken. And I think that's very evocative. I enjoy that.
So it's like these things are not necessarily opposites, but it's how I chose to go.
Like they aren't inherently exclusionary, but the decisions you've made have made them that way. That I liked. Because in Civ games you complete the tech tree, right? Which ends at current day, because Civilization games do not generally do a very good job of projecting into the future.
What about a game that has the strategy and no story at all, like Master of Rhine 2? Not played it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, saying it has no story is not necessarily accurate, because it has an arc, right? There are things you do in it. You start off as being this people that lives on one planet, and over the course of the game, you expand over many planets, and you come into conflict with other civilizations, and you go to war with them, or you enter into trade agreements with them, or you become allied with them, and then you fight space monsters together, or you sick them on other people, and then you go and defeat the Guardian of Orion, which is one of the endgame things, and the entire time you're being attacked by these weird monsters from beyond space. And that's a story. It's like it's like when people say that this movie didn't have a theme. Right, you can't criticize its theme because it didn't have a theme, and it's like, well, it has a plot, so it has a theme.
Yeah.
Right.
Whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah, and if you don't see that theme, it just means like it's trying to explain wet to a fish sometimes. Yeah. Right. Like.
It occurs to me that it's a very rare thing to have a game that has no story whatsoever. Like, if I had to think about a game that has no story, I'd think Tetris and Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Like, even Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Like, you're a ghost in a maze, or no, you're a wedge of cheese in a maze trying to escape ghosts.
Yeah.
There's even, like, that's a tiny bit of narrative, but it is there.
Yeah.
There's a conceit to it. Like, you have to go really abstract to completely exclude story from your game. That having been said, some games most certainly emphasize gameplay over story, or vice versa. Let's like the two ends of the spectrum, I guess, being like Pac-Man or a Twine game.
Yeah.
Where a Twine game is like, where do I want to go next? But then it's like lots of, artwork and stories and shit like that. And, it's emphasized around storytelling.
Right.
Whereas, like, Pac-Man's around gameplay. But yeah, like, I think the two of them... The two things, not mutually exclusive, they do sort of exist on a slider, or like a gradient. And the really, really, really compelling games are the ones that get both.
Yeah.
And, like, overlap them in such a way that they complement one another.
And I'm not saying that this game doesn't have a story. I'm just saying it never arrested me or interested me or even really sold me on completing it. I didn't like any of the endgame scenarios that this game presented.
Well, your incentives weren't sufficient.
Yeah. And there are a couple of other ones, like there's contacting aliens. You locate like an alien signal. But like the 3 virtue endings, were the ones that were sold as like the good endings.
Do we have a so what for both of these, or either of these?
Well, my so what for Alpha Centauri is that 4X strategy game that built on Civilization 2 and
Made you care.
Yeah, made you care and told a story using the mechanism of Civilization 2,
And
which is...
That, I think, is the crux of why it's so interesting, is because, it's one thing to just have an interesting story sort of, like, dropped into a game. It's like, okay, this story's good. But utilizing the language and mechanism of video games to tell that story, that's what fucking Citizen Kane was all about.
Yeah.
That movie's, like, not incredible, but we bring this up all the time. What made that movie important is because it told a story using the tools at the disposal of the medium. Of using cuts to tell the story, using camera movement to tell the story. Video games are now figuring out very slowly how to use gameplay to tell story. And that shit is so fucking exciting to me.
Yeah.
It makes my teeth numb.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what do all these things that we take for granted actually really mean? And why are they here? Why does a game like this have one winner? Right? Like, what...
In some ways,
I said this a while back, but the diplomatic victory in Civilization should be basically a group hug where everyone kind of gets what they want, right?
But it's this game is sort of beholden to being a game, where there has to be a winner, and the winner has to be you.
Yeah, otherwise you've lost.
Yeah,
right.
You lost. It's like, oh, everybody got, like, surely your drive here should be to, do what's best for humanity. What I think would be more interesting than maybe both games is there being a win condition where it's like you as a faction maybe don't even win or even survive, but maybe your sacrifice saves humanity.
Yeah.
And that could be an interesting ending. Like, that would be wild.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Well, it also goes with that thing about horror games where you always you have to win in the end, right? There's an end game where you win.
Yeah.
Whereas so much of horror is not about that, but that's not this. It's just something that stuck with me. But this is not the humanity that I wanted to take to the stars.
And for that reason, like, the game, no matter how good it could have been mechanically, didn't compel you.
Yeah.
Which is why you didn't like it.
I always found it vaguely I found the win conditions kind of depressing.
So it's just like this game to you was half empty.
Yeah.
And in that way, it was unsatisfying. It's like there's not even anything wrong with the focus they placed on gameplay, but it's like you didn't get what you wanted out of it. Like, you didn't get the motivation to move the units around and click through the tech tree, which is irrelevant to a lot of people, which is fine.
Yeah.
But to Cam,
it mattered.
Yeah. It mattered in Alpha Centauri and didn't matter in this game. So that's why that is our thoughts on these two games. Take from that what you will.
But I mean, like, the gameplay's fine.
Yeah.
Right? It does some interesting things quite well. I really did like this. I liked, well, not this. I mean,
not the spaghetti.
This was confusing, but I like that you didn't fully get the tech tree. No matter what you could, I suppose, if you played it way out and stacked certain things and made a point of getting it. But in the course of a game, you typically would not fully exploit the tech tree. Which I thought was great, and I would like to see that more in Civilization. And part of the thing that, yeah, as someone in chat pointed out, this game is pointedly like Beyond Earth, right? This is supposed to be the best and brightest of humanity going on and creating a new world on a blank slate and hoping to bring the best of themselves to it. And in Alpha Centauri, that is somewhat realized, right? Like, there's still a winning faction, but it's very clear that that encompasses all of humanity, right?
Yeah.
It's the people who got there first, and that's supposed to be you because,
For a game titled Beyond Earth, one of the victory conditions being returning to Earth seems very weirdly out of theme with the game.
Yeah.
It's like you're supposed to be going forward, and one of the ways you win is to go back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alushi Awesome. Like, Sid Meier Alpha Centauri starts at, like, literally the darkest hour of humanity, right? Earth is gone, and your one hope, this ship, has, like, blown up.
Yeah.
Right? And there's, as far as you know, maybe just you left.
Yeah. And then when you find other people, they don't necessarily have your interests at heart. But ultimately, like, when you do win, you know, humanity has survived and you were successful, and like that's and in a way that's like interesting and thematically realized.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it feels like a big win, not just like I got all the numbers to 100 kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, yeah, and that's not to say that there isn't some dark stuff in Alpha Centauri, like mind stapling and the spheres.
What's mind stapling, Precious?
Or nerve stapling.
What's nerve stapling, Precious?
In Alpha Centauri, you have your base population.
Yeah.
Right? And when it gets above a certain point, depending on who you are and what facilities you have in your base, you start making drones, which are people who do not, you know, your base population goes out and works squares. Drones do not.
Yeah.
So they are just kind of like this population that doesn't do anything. And if you acquire too many drones, they start riots and your base becomes damaged and stops producing anything entirely. And it's very bad. And what you can do to prevent that is you nerve staple them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's... Ugh.
And at some point in the game, you can also unlock the technology to
like you're not addressing the problem.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Thematically, it's just like, oh, these people are rioting, staple them. It's like, maybe if we figured out why they were rioting...
Yeah.
It's just like, we're fucking starving and dying of thirst.
And it's horrible, right? Because
that sounds awful.
Yeah, they become like, they're gone, right? Those people are not...
Jeez.
They're not home anymore. Yeah, and it is an atrocity, and there's a huge diplomatic penalty for it.
But it's convenient.
Yeah, it's expedient.
That's so good.
It's expedient.
Like,
there's also the technology to develop
like that.
gene jacks. And the actually, there's a wonderful bit where Chairman Yang is talking about the gene jack, which is his gift to the world, right? His gift to humanity. And he's like, he's defending it, and he's saying, like, how can you tyrannize someone who can't experience pain?
Oh no!
Right? He's like,
manufactured consent.
Well, these people work tirelessly. They don't need much food. They don't need much sleep. They don't get unhappy.
Fuck.
And he's like, tyranny. How can you call this? They can't feel pain. There is no coercion.
That's so unethical.
I know, isn't it?
But it's so interesting because there's a logic to that.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Well, it's like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Restaurant at the End of the Universe.
Yeah.
When the cow thing that wants to be eaten.
Yeah, and like
Arthur's like, that's awful.
Yeah. He's like, what are you talking about? Like I'm stoked that you're gonna eat me.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll point out the best meat and I'll go shoot myself. And he's just like, this is weird. And it's like, is that weirder than, you know,
eating something
that doesn't want to be eaten?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like I don't actually know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's See, just hearing about that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So wild. We should probably welcome subs before we disappear here, because there's not a lot of them. But this show happens because you said it would. This is your fault.
Yeah.
And your responsibility.
Way to go.
Yeah. Thank you. And I also would like to thank the chat for, despite there being some heat, conducting yourselves in a way that was insightful and you know, polite.
Wait, do we have 500 viewers?
We do?
Is that what? Jesus.
That I value. Like, if if we can sustain a
passerby,
chat,
go ahead,
yeah,
yeah.
if we can sustain a chat where people will have disagreements, maybe even
Mm-hmm.
heated disagreements, but not resort to being shitty.
Yeah.
Then the mods don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And then maybe everybody learns something.
Yeah.
Which is important, because I was having this discussion with Kim last night. Like, the reason shit doesn't move forward is because people polarize, take a stand, you know, pick a hill to die on, and will never listen to a single thing somebody they feel opposing them, you know, is experiencing. And, you know, we're probably guilty of that from time to time, but I feel that we gave this game, you know, a fair shake. We pointed out things we liked, we pointed out things we didn't like about it.
Yeah. Like, it's another one of these games, like, it's gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
I love the little idle animations, like your scout will occasionally, like, this probe pops up and it does, like, a laser scan of the hex.
Yeah.
Like, there's some really talented artists who worked on this.
So, one last thing I want to point out is it's just like, you know, somebody was sort of sarcastically saying, you know, it's like, oh, expecting good behavior out of a Twitch chat. It's like, yeah actually I do, because I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Twitch chat or Twitter or anything has to be shitty.
Yep.
It's only shitty because it's easy.
Yeah, and, well, because we also tolerate it.
Yeah, because...
So we don't here.
So, yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
And the result, the sum total, is that you can have a discussion in the context of, you know, an internet forum or chat or instant messaging service or whatever. The internet doesn't have to be as shitty as it is.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sit there and let it be that way.
Yeah.
And what we all get out of it will be what we put into it. So, anyway, our subs today have been... Wait, is this 2 hours ago?
Yeah.
Drazoth, sub for 3 months in a row, resub for my favorite show, also Ruby Hype.
Oh, man.
Interesting thing to point out. Sorry, brief aside, I've heard that show got way better.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
I remember when you, like, watched the first bit and it was like...
It was like DeviantArt made an anime.
Yeah.
But...
Apparently, it got way
Mary
better.
Cagle was like, yeah, it got really good later. And I was like, no shit.
All right. Good.
Fair.
Good. I'm happy. Oval with a line through it. Just subscribe. Thank you so much, Oval with a line through it. Welcome to the channel. I love... That's such a good tick reference.
Oh!
It was one of the, like, the side panels in the tick where it's like Ben Edlund is like,
right.
how to draw the tick. It's
Sorry.
like draw an oval.
Here's how different my context is for that.
Yeah.
I saw oval, like I thought oval with line through it. I thought of the kiosk symbol from Tintin. Like the circle with the squiggly line, the two dots
from
Cigars of the Pharaohs.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Did I say Surgeman76? He just subscribed.
Welcome to the channel, Surge Man. Dirt Cadaver is resub for 20 months in a row. I love you guys. Hail the great Canada.
The Truffle a Tree to subscribe. Welcome.
For Casio cheered us with 50 bits, saying 50 Alex Hart.
The bits. Pangogi just subscribed. Welcome to the channel.
Glitch Prophetess resubbed for 5 months.
Ostergaard for 4 months. Hey, buddies. Also, holy shit, it's already 4 months. Flies by, doesn't it?
Sam Wonk resubbed for 4 months, saying, it's midnight here and I teach in the morning, but I'm glad I stayed up to watch this. Well, we're glad you're here.
And last but not least, Vanquisher just subscribed. Thank you so much for joining our ranks.
So many new subs. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Thank you for supporting us here. You do this to us every week.
Yeah.
You're the one
such
responsible
a
for
hardship.
This. Yeah.
Yeah.
You keep subbing, we'll keep doing it.
So, do we know what we're doing next week? Ooh. Nick wanted to reschedule. I don't know if that's possible until after PAX.
Yeah.
But
because he'll be floored with PAX off.
We'll tease you with this. We have a friend who's a game dev, and we'd like to get their insight on some Unity games and just talk about it from an inside perspective of how, what I'm hoping to get at is how the actual nuts and bolts reality of creating a video game can affect how they turn out. Sort of like best intentions, best laid plans scenarios that just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
So we end up skewering something that they're probably sobbing over, and we seem like assholes.
Yeah. But next week we should...
we'll talk to James about it.
Yeah.
It'll be something.
Yeah, we'll have something for you probably by tomorrow.
So, until then, we will see you next time in the future.
Toodles.
Bye-bye.